Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be making this fabric notions pouch. This is a ready-to-make project in Cricut Design Space. It's already been set up for you. I believe Carly made this for you, and I'm just going to show you really quickly how to put this together. This is super simple, and it's a really practical little gift to make for any of the little notions that you have some sharp tips, or that you just want to be able to transport and not lose. So I did alter it just a little bit by adding a cam snap, but other than that, this is exactly according to directions. So let's get started. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space. All you're going to do is click on New Project, and then click on Projects. And if you type right up here in the search bar, type Pouch, P-O-U-C-H, click Enter, and it's right here called the Fabric Notions Pouch. So you can click on it. It's part of Cricut Access, so there's no cost. And you can see the one that Carly made right here, and she used a button. I am going to alter it just a little bit and add a cam snap, but this is super cute. She's got her Cricut sewing notions in there, and I think it's absolutely darling. So it gives you all of the information that you need here. If you want to make it like hers, you're also going to need a piece of ribbon, which you're going to put in right at the top here, and a button. Again, I'm going to use the cam snap, but I'm going to walk you right through how to make this, and she's got great PDF instructions right here below the project picture. So if you need any other information, you can check it out right there. So let me switch the camera over and I'll show you how to put this together. The first thing you're going to do is cut out your fabrics with the Cricut. You have to load it face down, and you're going to want to put the fabric marker in. And this particular project, I don't mind using the marker. You're going to be sewing where the marker lines are, so you're not going to see them if you have a lighter fabric. So go ahead and cut out both pieces. You're going to need 2 pieces of fabric approximately 12 inches wide by 17 inches long. A fat quarter works perfectly, and you'll have plenty of leftover for another project. So go ahead and cut your fabrics out, and then we'll start assembly. All right, the first thing you're going to do is take both of your pieces and put them pretty sides facing each other. So pretty sides together, and you're just going to line those up and clip or pin them into place. You'll note that I used clips all the way around, but on the one short side, I'm going to mark a section using straight pins. You could also just mark it with a fabric marker, however you want to do it, but you want to leave an opening about 2 inches or so wide, and that's how we're going to turn this right side out. So where the pins are, I have marked that section for my turning position. So what you're going to do is start by one of your pins and sew along that outline that the Cricut fabric marker drew for you. You're going to sew all the way around from one pin to the other pin, leaving that open in between the 2 pins. And you're going to sew right along the line that Cricut drew for you. So go ahead and do that and meet me back here. Okay, you can see I've sewn all the way around. However, I have left the opening in between these 2 pins. I can go ahead and remove those pins. And the next thing we're going to do is trim our seam allowance. So you want to trim this down to about 1/4 inch. And any sharp corners you want to cut as close to your stitch line as you can. And if you have pinking shears, this is a great time to use them. If not, just cut your seam allowances down with regular scissors. And if you have any rounded corners you want to, and the elbows where the stitching lines change corners, you want to snip into those corners just to give you a nice finished edge. Now I just trimmed off my seam allowance where my opening was, and I would recommend that you don't trim where your opening is, just to give you more fabric to turn it. This is still fine, I'll make it work, but it's easier to fold that opening fabric in if you leave your seam allowance on just where the pins were, just where you left that opening in your stitches. So go ahead and trim your seam allowance down. And once you have your seam allowance all the way around, cut down to about 1/4 of an inch or so, then you're going to reach inside that hole that we left. And this is what I'm talking about. If I'd have left a little bit more fabric right there, it would make the next step a little bit easier. But it's totally doable if you forget and you trim it. Obviously I did, and it worked. So you're going to reach inside that hole and just go ahead and turn this right side out. And make sure that you get all of the little nooks and crannies and corners turned right side out. You want to have a bone folder or a chopstick or a ballpoint pen with a lid on it, something to reach inside that hole and really push those corners out. I'm using a bone folder. I'm a paper crafter and I have lots of these around, so that works really well if you happen to have one of those. There's also point turners that are made specifically for doing this in your sewing notions section. But just go ahead and go all the way around all of your seams, making sure that everything is pushed out nice and flat and your corners are nice and square. And take your time with this step, because this project in particular, it does make a difference. So once you have all of your corners pressed out or pushed out, you're going to take this over to your iron and iron this nice and flat and crisp. And you're going to turn in those raw edges. Again, if I'd had a little bit more fabric just right there, that would have made this part a little bit easier, but there's enough there, it'll work. So go ahead and take it over to your iron and make sure that you press everything nice and flat. Okay, once you have that part done, you're not done with your iron. It's going to be your best friend here. You're going to fold this piece in and make sure the bottom lines up, and you're folding it so it's even with that right side and that left edge. So you want to make sure that the bottom is nice and lined up evenly. And then you're going to take it over to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch right along this side, just from top to bottom, back stitch at the beginning and the end. Don't sew across the bottom, just down that side, and that will secure that pocket in place and close this opening that we have here from where we turned it right side out. All right, so I have that part done, and you can see I stitched right along that edge. It's open on the top and it's still open right here on the bottom. So now we're ready to fold this side over. Again, we're lining up that bottom. You want to make sure your bottom stays nice and even, and then you're going to fold it back on itself one more time. So you're kind of making a backward Z fold. So you're going to fold it over and then back on itself. So it looks like this. So now you're going to run a stitch all along the outer edge, and that will secure all of the pockets in place. You might want to start over here on the side. I would suggest starting on that right side on the bottom pocket part and then sew all the way around. Next, we're going to install our fastener. Now, if you followed Carly's tutorial closely, you've put a ribbon in there and you're going to sew a button. But I'm going to use a cam snap. I'm not a button sewer person. I just am not good at it. So I'm going to use a cam snap, and I've used a lot of these in my videos. I will link the cam snap kit in the description below the video if you're interested. But if you've been following along with my videos, you probably already have this one. So all you're going to do is get 2 of the tack pieces, and then there are 2 different back pieces. There's a male and a female back, and the 2 tack pieces are exactly the same. So you have 4 different pieces to make up both sides of the snap. So the first thing we're going to do is poke a hole right here, and it's easy to tell where the center is because of the design of the flap on the front. So I just went up about 3/4 of an inch or so. I didn't even measure. I just went up and put that tack in so that the tack side is facing the outside. And then use one of your backs. It doesn't matter if it's the male or the female. And then you just clamp it into the cam snap closure. And then we need to put the reverse side on the bottom. So I'm just going to fold this flap and make sure that I have a little bit of extra wiggle room in there. I'm going to push on the snap, and that's just going to make a little indentation. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it. And that tells me exactly where this other snap needs to go. So I'm going to press a hole I'm going to take the tack portion. This time I'm going to put the tack portion on the inside of the pocket so that the tack is pointed out. And then I'm going to put the opposite back side on it. And again, just use the tool and clamp it. When you use the tool, the black side of the tool goes against the back side of the tack part. And that's it, you're done. And this is perfect for if you're traveling and sewing and you have anything with pointed ends on it you want to keep track of, your scissors, your seam ripper, the dreaded seam ripper. And I just put the cam snap again just to change it up a little bit. And I think these are really cute. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I think these are a lot of fun and they would make great little gifts for your sewing friends and for Mother's Day and birthdays and all kinds of occasions. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to click that bell notification if you haven't already, and that will make sure that you're notified every time there is a new video available. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, never stop making. See you guys. Bye-bye.